Hello, and welcome to the Soundwave Podcast. Music, technologies, stories. For people who love the art and science of listening to and enjoying recorded music. Here it's all about the art and magic of sound reproduction and related human stories. We survey music, technology, and stories from the early beginnings of relatively low high fidelity to the heyday of the 70s high fidelity and the modern age of digital and streaming. I'm your host, Pat Shepard. Today we're going to take a detailed look at the recently released Apple AirPods Pro Gen 2. I'll talk about why I decided to get the new AirPod Pros, some of the best features and capabilities of those new AirPods, and a review of the sound quality with a side-by-side listening test. Hopefully, if you're thinking about getting a set of the AirPod Pros Gen 2 headphones, this article will help you make that decision one way or the other. By the way, I've learned how to make chapter markers in my podcast episodes, which I added to the last episode as a test and will include them from now going forward. For this episode, if there is a particular feature or commentary that you're particularly interested in, you can just index into that segment. For the longest time, I used my AirPods Pro Gen 1 to listen to audiobooks from Audible. But the left pod developed a strange sound. It's hard to describe, but it's something like chewing gum while underwater. I thought it must be something wrong with the tips, so I tried a bunch of different tips that are ordered from Amazon. But the Apple Fit test would never return a fit reading. Then I recently noticed how distorted the sound was, and for a brief period of time I thought there must be something wrong with my ears. But I have no problem when I listen to other headphones, so I knew that something must be wrong with the headphones themselves. I must have dropped them at some particular point and broken the driver and the microphone, causing both the strange sound, likely from the adaptive EQ misreading from the broken microphone, and the distortion from the broken driver. I knew I had to do something. Luckily, AirPod Pro Gen 2 had just been released a couple months ago in September, so I knew it was time to pick up a new pair. I'll be honest that the AirPods Pro Gen 1, when they were working, always sounded reasonably good, but I would never use them for anything more than just listening to audiobooks or for their sound cancellation coupled with listening to music while traveling on airplanes for work or vacation. The sound was never tinny, but certainly not rich or deep, just kind of flat. That is what I would use the AirPod Pros Max headphones for, listening to music more seriously. See the Soundwave Show Season 1, Episode 6, AirPods Max Review. Let's take a look at the key new features and capabilities. 1. Massively improved charging case. 2. Significantly better automatic noise cancellation. 3. Much richer sound, and 4, new gesture support for volume control. There are some others that I'll cover as well, but these to me are the top new features. The case of the new case. A huge amount of the new and upgraded capabilities of the Gen 2 AirPod Pros are in the charging case itself, which looks almost identical to the Gen 1 case and is exactly the same dimensions. This is important because you can use previous protecting cases, but for one issue that has to do with the new feature. The new speaker at the bottom right, which now lets you use Find My to locate your case independently of the AirPods themselves. Unfortunately, the old case didn't have the holes at the bottom for the speaker. Why would they? And the Gen 1 case block the speaker and mute the location ping significantly. I had a really nice leather case that I didn't want to throw away, so I took my drill and carefully drilled a small hole in the bottom to match up with the 3 little speaker holes on the charging case. It worked perfectly. The sound was now loud and useful. Speaking of finding your AirPod Pros, the charging case itself now has the new U1 chip in it, the ultra-wideband or UWB U1 chip. It's a specialized piece of Apple proprietary silicone that doesn't have anything to do with audio performance. Instead, it allows recent iPhone models, iPhone 11 and onwards, to precisely locate and communicate with other U1 equipped devices, such as AirTags. Precision finding lets you see on the iPhone's screen exactly where you are in relation to your missing AirPods, down to 1/10 of a foot. In tests that I did, it was amazing how well it could help you find them, and then with the sound from the speaker, it's a no-brainer. The charging case is now fully MagSafe and supports charging with an Apple Watch charger or a MagSafe charger. The Lightning connector is still there, which I use mostly, or you can use any QI certified charger. Now, the charging case, in addition to the AirPods themselves, are also both IPX4 sweat and water resistant. This has never been a problem for me because when I'm doing an intense workout, i.e. indoor or outdoor cycling, I am most certainly not wearing AirPods or carrying the case for both practicality and safety reasons. The Gen 2s also have a lanyard anchor. Interestingly, my old leather case that I talked about also had a hole for a lanyard, even though the Gen 1s didn't have a lanyard anchor. Apple isn't selling its own lanyard for the AirPods Pro 2, but 9to5Mac and others have reviews for some options. I've linked to an article in my resource section. Now onto the earphones. First, the battery life on a single charge has been extended from 4.5 hours to 6 hours with automatic noise cancellation on. However, that drops slightly to 5.5 hours with spatial audio and head tracking enabled. The total time that you are able to use the charging case and the AirPods recharging from the case each cycle has gone from 24 hours to 30 hours, which can be great for long trips. The only truly new capability is the support for the volume control gesture. Both versions of the AirPods Pro use the force stem for physical controls. You squeeze them to play and pause music, answer and end calls, or hold to switch between active noise cancellation and adaptive transparency. However, the Gen 2 AirPods add the ability to control the volume by sliding your finger up and down the force stem, allowing you to adjust the volume independently of your iPhone or Apple Watch. Interestingly, I also upgraded my Apple Watch to an Apple Watch Ultra, and though I likely won't cover it here, I absolutely love the design and function of the new Ultra. Let's move into how the AirPod Pros sound, starting with one of the biggest improvements, the updated H2 chip. The new chip brings notably improved active noise cancellation, ANC, a new adaptive transparency mode, and longer battery life. Apple states that the H2 chip in the AirPod Pros 2, Gen 2, cancels twice as much noise compared to the original AirPods Pro. The Sound Guys article included in the resource section did some tests and showed a few interesting points. First, ANC is where that H2 chip really starts to show off. The AirPod Pros Gen 2 feature consistently improved ANC over the Apple AirPods Pro Gen 1. Previous generations of the model still did pretty good and were very capable, and at some frequencies featured superior isolation in the very high range, but that's not enough to counterbalance the roughly 5 to 10 decibels improvement in the low end through the mid-range. The new AirPod Pros will do a much better job with the kinds of sounds ANC is built to handle, things like the rumble of a car or the din of the background sound in a cafe. This ANC performance isn't just nice for quieting the distractions, it will also help you keep the volume down below levels that will cause noise-induced hearing loss. Second, as far as sound goes, they found there are mostly small differences between the two, except in the low end, where the AirPod Pros Gen 2 have a little louder than their benchmark up to about 200 Hz. Conversely, the AirPod Pros Gen 1 undershoot in the same stretch of the frequency spectrum by quite a bit. This means that the sub-bass sounds will sound a lot louder coming out of the AirPods Gen 2, but otherwise the spread between the new model and the old is less than 5 decibels in most places. So, I did a live listen test. My son and I used the Share Audio feature of iOS/AirPods Pro with my new benchmark test song, Rush's Tom Sawyer in Dolby Atmos, listening to the song on first the Gen 1s and then the Gens 2 and swapping between, yielding some remarkable observations. The sound was noticeably deeper and richer in the Gen 2s, leaving the Gen 1s noticeably thinner. In addition, the sound cancellation was significantly better with the Gen 2s. Because the sound cancellation is so much better, you don't need to turn up the volume as loud, which is better for your ears, and your listening experience becomes focused on the primary sound, what it is you want to listen to, and much less the secondary sound, what you don't want to listen to in the background like jackhammers or jet engines. Of course, the spatial audio sounds truly fantastic with the new personalized audible abilities added to iOS 16. See my last podcast episode, Season 2, Episode 3, Spatial Audio Update. As for making calls, both models, the Gen 1 and the Gen 2, have decent microphones for a pair of true wireless earbuds. And for the most part, they sound pretty similar. The Gen 2s have a redesigned inward-facing microphone which works with voice enhancement algorithms to better recognize and articulate your voice to make it sound a little louder, and it sounds just a bit clearer in ideal conditions. The Gen 2 also rejects external noises a little bit better, although excessive noise can cause voices to drop out for a moment. In summary, I really couldn't be happier with the AirPod Pro's Gen 2s. The improvements in the charging case centered around the new U1 chip and the built-in Find My speaker are significant and make it much easier to find your AirPod Pros if and when you misplace them. The H2 chip is at the center of the significantly improved listening experience. The automatic noise cancellation on these things are absolutely amazing. They block out an incredible amount of background sounds, which leads to an overall better listening experience in general. Using the Soundwave Show's official test song, Rush's Tom Sawyer in Dolby Atmos, a side-by-side test showed how significantly richer they sound than the Gen 1s. Then there are a host of other improvements, like the improved battery life from the more efficient H2 chip, a new lanyard anchor, and the ability to get the case engraved with an emoji if you order it from the Apple Store. But don't throw away your Apple AirPod Gen 1s. But if you're in a refresh mode, then go out and get a pair of these miraculous little bits of technology. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this AirPods Pro review to be interesting and even useful. Please visit my website, thesoundwaveshow.com, where I have reference links used in the creation of this episode, such as the Sound Guy's review of the AirPod Pros. All content, except where noted or referenced, is copyright Pat Shepard and thesoundwaveshow.com. The theme song is something I put together in GarageBand, admittedly with loops. See you next time.